Hi, I'd like to know about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse in Revelation 6, not the Four Horsemen.
Hey, welcome back to Questions Over Coffee. I'm your host, Kevin Smith. It's good to see you again. Want a cup of coffee? Today's question comes from one of my old-time friends, Jason Harrison in Channelview, Texas. Jason is wanting to know more about the Four Horsemen listed in Revelation chapter 6. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you get in on all of the good questions people are asking on Questions Over Coffee. All right, let's take a look at this question that Jason asks. A couple of principles here. The book of Revelation is one of, if not the hardest to understand books in the New Testament, simply because it is chock full of so much imagery, so much symbolism that, well, quite frankly, we don't have all of the tools that we need. Sometimes we are able to understand exactly what John was writing. He refers to the Lamb. That's a reference to Jesus. He refers to Babylon. That's a reference to Rome, the city on 7 hills. Sometimes, though, we can make a good educated guess, but we're not entirely certain exactly what it is that the writer was using the symbols for. Sometimes it's a code that has been lost to time that the first century Christians would have understood, but being in 2018, we don't have that code, that cipher for us. And we can just make the best guess we can and give a few options, like, say, the number 666. Quite frankly, we may or may not have the right options on there. The second thing that we want to note is interpretations for the book of Revelation have been changed over time. Just in the last century, in the 1900s, we've had differing views presented by the same person at different times because it is a hard book. So the best we can do is use the information we have and say the theme of the overall book is God wins through Christ over all the nations. With those things in mind, let's take a look at the passage that Jason has asked about and see if we can't make a couple of observations there. This is Revelation 6, 1 through 8. Let's read together. Then I saw when the Lamb broke one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying with a loud voice of thunder, "Come." I looked, and behold, a white horse, and he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. When he broke the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd living creature say, "Come." And another, a red horse, went out, and to him who sat on it, it was granted to take peace from the earth, and that men would slay one another, and a great sword was given to him. When he broke the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature saying, "Come." I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard something like a voice in the center of the 4 living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not damage the oil and the wine." When the Lamb broke the 4th seal, I heard a voice of the 4th living creature saying, "Come." I looked, and behold, an ashen horse, and he who sat on it had the name Death, and Hades was following with him. Authority was given to them over 1/4 of the earth to kill with the sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Let's cut to the chase. The identity of these 4 horsemen are unknown. We would like to know. I would love to know. I've had I've loved the story of the Four Horsemen since my wrestling days, watching Ric Flair and his crew devastate WCW. I love the Four Horsemen, but we don't know who these are. We can draw a few conclusions from this, though. One is they're under the authority of the Lamb, under the authority of Jesus. Jesus is the one that breaks the seal. He is the one that allows them to go and do the things that they do. We can also see a couple of things. We see God's judgment on what I think is God's judgment on the nation of Rome, the fall of the Roman Empire, starting with the leader leading them astray, war against each other, started in the politics, the famine, and eventually the death. We see God's judgment passed on this nation, on this empire, for the things that they have done to God's saints, to God's Christians. The other thing that you see, though, is God giving them a chance to repent. You don't see all of the empire being eliminated after the first horseman, or the second horseman, or the third, or even the fourth necessarily. So God is giving the remaining ones an opportunity to come to Him and to stop abusing His Christians. Jason, I hope this helps to answer the question, or at least somewhat. It may have just muddied the waters a little more. Like I said, this is a tough book, and it's filled with a lot of tough imagery, a lot of fun imagery, but it is some tough imagery to decipher. I have a question for you. What is your favorite imagery in the book of Revelation? It's got a lot of good things to choose from, and a lot of good things that, well, quite frankly, are very encouraging, and some are somewhat terrifying. What's your favorite? Why? Leave me a comment down below so we can talk about these things. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that's coming up on Questions Over Coffee. We would love to also get your questions. So if you have further questions, please put those also in the comments below. Keep pressing forward.